Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm awesome today. Absolutely amazing. It's not a beautiful day outside, but I guess in the eye of the beholder, it's a little drizzly, a little overcast, but, it's warm in here, and it just makes me feel awesome all over. Love it.
That's awesome. Well, and I know you were as excited as I was to have Carol Collins on the show last week. And both of us, I think, when we ended the show, our heads were reeling, and I've had a whole week to think about it. And I spoke with Michael briefly before the show, and we said, you know what, there was so much to unpack. Let's go with it for the theme of the show today. So one of the quotes that spurred the conversation last week was one that Carol Collins and the teachers, they said, when you step into your natural state of allowing, you align with the infinite intelligence that knows exactly how to unfold your path. And part of that infinite intelligence, Carol and the teachers, they expanded on it, and they spoke about how the unconscious really shapes our reality. And as I was thinking about it, I thought, well, it's sort of like an unseen architect, and that our unconscious thoughts sort of act like that, and they create our experiences. I mentioned to Michael that I had an experience. I was stuck in traffic yesterday, and I looked over to my right, and there was a blue Toyota Corolla. And when I was in college, there was a young man that I was friends with, and he had an old beater car, I swear, that was held up by duct tape. He called it the Crusher Corolla. And he said, that car, he said, it'll go through, it'll keep going and keep going. And it did. I mean, it got him through 4 years of college, and it was just amazing with a little bit of a wish and a prayer. It kept going. But every time I see a Toyota Corolla on the road, I look at it and I'm like, oh, another Crusher Corolla. And I never really thought about it until we did that show last week, because I thought, isn't that interesting? Here something has been programmed into my subconscious. How many years have passed by? It's not that I think about it. It's just something that was stored in my subconscious that really has influenced my reality. So much so that my perception of, and there's lots of cars on the road, and that when I turn and my attention is drawn to it, I see that, and it brings back that memory, and it brings back that assigned, I guess you would call it sort of a label. And then I thought to myself, well, how many things do we label in our lives? So I'm curious, Michael, is there something that's like that or similar to you that when you see it, it brings you right back?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, from a car, let's just expand the whole car thing, right? My first car was a 66 Caprice. So every time I see a 66 Caprice coupe, no matter where it is, that thought of my having one and driving it in the last year of my high school, it just comes rushing right back. The feeling of driving it, it was a car my mother found and paid $200 for. I drove it for a year through my year and a half before I went to school, and then I sold it for $300. So can my mother pick cars? Oh, yeah. She could pick up, she was pretty good at picking used cars. But, I mean, the whole idea is that Volkswagen camper vans. I love Volkswagens because I learned how to drive on a Volkswagen. A stick. I used a manual stick on a Volkswagen camper van from 1968. And so every time I have this love affair with Volkswagen vans. I just love them. I love the everything about it. Doesn't matter what model. When I see one, I admire it, and those feelings and everything come rushing right back. And they're feelings of love and appreciation and gratitude. It's really, really awesome that that's the case. And hey, I'm there. And I think I probably just name a dozen things. The thing I found most fascinating about our conversation last week is how our the everything that the grid is our subconscious mind is a collector. as a collector. And it collects everything that you become aware of, that you focus on, positive and negative. And what we really want to be not concerned about, but we really want to be mindful of is the negative influences that we're actually connecting with. We really want to limit the negative influences that are collecting on our grid. And so, an extension of that, which literally blew my mind last week, was how if you buy a product in a store that is, let's say you go grocery shopping, right? And there's all kinds of stuff to buy, and like there are in most stores. And the people who had anything to do with that product, the design of that product, the emotions that they were experiencing at the time, have become associated, have melded with that product. And you're thinking, wait a minute, hold on a second. I mean, my brother's an actor, and I've been to movie sets at Paramount, and I have seen all the different people making the movie, from the gaffers to the blockers to the director to the producers to the executive producers and the actors themselves. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of people that go into costume designers, everybody who goes into making a movie. And the interesting thing that you said was that when you watch that movie, you are absorbing, your subconscious is absorbing all of the energies of all the people who had anything to do with the production of that movie. You're like, wait a minute, I'm seeing everybody. If you're watching it in a movie theater, even the person who's running the film has whatever they're thinking, whatever feeling is going into that movie, and then as a result, as an extension, your subconscious is also interacting with that. It's landing on your grid. So you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And we know what kind of society we live in, right? We live in a society where, here in the United States at least, we have a very heavy victim consciousness. So I'm thinking to myself, when we got off the phone, I'm thinking, how many people's victim consciousness am I absorbing every day as I engage with it?
For sure.
Like, wow, I do my best to stay away from that consciousness, yet it's on my grid, getting on my grid anyway.
Yeah. I have a saying that I like to do it at night. There's a point in the middle of the hand that I was taught many years ago. They call it an Akashic record release point. And it sort of sits on the outer edge from the pinky to the wrist. And if you sort of take your hands and you meet in the middle and just pinch that point, and I just simply say, I now release any and all energy I may have absorbed throughout the day that's not mine. I release it to the universe that it may be perfected. I no longer wish to carry this energy. And then I just thank it and bless it and let it go. But you can feel it leave you. And it's so true, Michael. I go into some restaurants, and even if it's to go, I love Panera Bread because it is good food, clean food. And when I get a salad, and I can feel it. I can feel when somebody made it with love, and they've taken so much pride in the way that they arrange the vegetables, and it's just not thrown in there haphazardly. And I will acknowledge it. I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you for making this with so much love. It's absolutely beautiful. And the person behind the counter, they light up because they're seen, they're recognized, and I can truly feel it. I can feel the fact that there was love put into that. And I think you can do that in any profession, whatever it is. And I thought that's what was so brilliant about the show last week, because it truly is. And I have always been a fan of Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote the book, The Biology of Belief. And one of the things that he said, your life is a printout of your subconscious mind. If you want to change the printout, you can change the program. Now, his first research was in the 1950s in stem cell research at Stanford, and he was looking at the cells in a petri dish, and he said that as he was doing the research, he realized that even if it was a liver stem cell, it was the thoughts that were projected onto those cells as to what they would become. So a liver cell could become a lung cell if he told the other researchers that that's what they were working on. And it was really interesting because further, as he started getting into epigenetics, he said that 95% of our behaviors are dictated by the subconscious programs that we develop in childhood. So if you think about it, those unconscious beliefs, as you were saying, that are rooted in fear or lack or unworthiness, our reality will actually affect that. And it's really amazing that through that conscious awareness where we have that repetition, where Carol was saying that you instead, you just feed more love or positivity or happy, that if we consciously do that, we can rewrite those patterns and create a whole new external experience. And perhaps maybe the person who is making my salad is unconscious of the fact that they're really taking pride or putting love in it, but it takes that acknowledgement so that the next salad that they create is done with that much more love and that much more intention. I mean, I like to think about that.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal, and it's interesting. And thank you so much for the tip about the point between your tip of your pinky and your wrist, because and what you say in terms of releasing that energy from the day. I'll start doing that myself, and I hope some of our listeners here on PRN FM have taken note of that as well. What's interesting is that what I think of the number of people, I think it was a Stanford study of it, I can't quote it. What I do know is that what was said was that 92% of people don't like what they're doing. And 92% don't like and aren't doing what they were doing, what they went to college for. And that's mind-blowing when it comes to something that we're like what we're talking about in terms of transference of energy into products, into things, creations, whatever it might be. There's going to be negative energy in everything that we come in contact with, because it's more than likely that the person who had anything to do with it, or the people who have interacted with it in one way or another, weren't necessarily in a positive place when they did. And so, yeah, I know that our listeners definitely want to listen to the show, last week's show with Carol, as a replay on our podcast, because it's Connect to Love, because there are some things that she suggests that we can do that are really unique to help alleviate, help get rid of the energies that are associated, that we anticipate even being associated with when we're going to watch a television show, one of our favorite television shows, or a movie, or going to a theater, or seeing it on TV, or going to interact with somebody in an office, whatever it may be, when we attention. But what I find interesting, and this is my simple belief, and it just may be mine, that if I'm in a loving state, a state of love and gratitude and joy and happiness, that when I walk in, I can shift the energies of people. And I know you do this all the time. I can shift the energies of that interaction, which is my main purpose. My purpose is if I have to connect with somebody, or if I'm going to connect with somebody, even by happenstance, my main mission is to shift their energy. Shift the energy they're resonating. If I go to Target and I get a couple of gift cards or whatever, and I check out, I make sure that the energy that is exchanged between me and the person behind the register is a loving, positive, grateful, appreciative energy, and that the words I speak, are in line with that. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome day today. And I call them by name. I look at people's name tags in a split second. I know what their name is. And I just literally, it's so nonchalant. Hi, Jenny, how are you? And I say it so quickly that they don't even know that I don't know them. They don't know that I'm calling them by their name. They just literally, I'm great today. It hasn't even registered in their mind, probably until I leave and I've walked out, that person knew my name. And how do they know my name? They're wearing a name badge, but they just forget about all of that, right? Because people see other people, in many cases, as simply a means to an end. And seeing people as a means to an end in our lifetime, in this lifetime period, to me is kind of, connection is what it's all about. And so it's neat and it's positive, it's loving to call people by their name. And I do that all the time. And in shifting and transmitting that energy that, because I don't know what happened to them before they came. I don't know if they really liked being there. I don't know if they had a family issue at home, or whether they had problems getting to work, or whether their car had an issue. I don't know all that. And really, I don't care. It's none of my business. What my business is to make sure that my interaction with them is a positive one, is a loving one, so that is a happy one, so that it impacts the energy that they're putting out to the next person.
Truly. And I think, Michael, what you're doing is you're allowing them to be seen. And I believe that that's what so many people on the planet right now are thirsty for. They want to be seen. They want to be seen. Yeah. And there, just last week, actually, that was the day before, I think it was February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, Robert J. Gilbert transitioned. He was just an amazing mind, and I watched an interview with him that was done about 8 months ago. And one of the things that he said was, as we come onto this planet, we all have a purpose, and we get distracted, and we forget about what it was that our soul came here to do. And that when you acknowledge somebody the way that you do through their name and allow them to be seen, it brings you back a little bit closer to remembering, oh, okay, who am I? I'm not just a worker bee. I am not just whatever this is. I'm actually an individual, and I have value. And I think that's really beautiful. So I have to applaud you for that, because it does make a very big difference. And recognizing the fact that we all have different experiences, and you don't know how their day is. Although we do have a vibration and a frequency that we emit, we have this vibrational frequency that, really a lot of people will say, well, I don't understand what energy is, or I don't understand frequency or vibration, but they believe in Wi-Fi. They're able to use a cell phone.
Right.
I have to chuckle about that all the time.
It's true. And they know it when they feel it. They know negative energy when they feel it. And they should know positive energy when they feel it. Here's something that's interesting. This is something I would encourage our audience to do, because if you really want to blow somebody away that has serviced you in some way, that you're interacting with, say, thank you, I appreciate you. As an exit greeting, as an exit cordiality, let's put it that way. It's really interesting, because the person, I will bet lunch that person registers that, and just they stop for a moment, and they don't exactly know what to say to it. They'll look at you, and sometimes they say, "Oh, thank you," and others they're stunned by the comment. However, what it does is it gives them positive food for thought, to know that they're appreciated. It's not that you're just saying, "Oh, I appreciate you," or that you're just showing your appreciation by the way that you interact with them. But when you simply say, "Thank you, I appreciate you," and instead of saying goodbye, "See you later, have a great day, make it awesome, I appreciate you," and you can keep walking, and let them process that positive interaction, that energy that you just laid on them over the course of their day and evening. And
that's beautiful.
I would guarantee you, it's just such a simple thing. Thank you, I appreciate you, and done. You walk away. I don't need anything you to say anything about it. I don't need you to in some way recognize that I said it to you. I don't need any reciprocation. It's just, hey, I appreciate you. And roll off the tongue and walk away. And that's, to me, that's just, the looks that I've gotten have been priceless. In the comments.
That's beautiful, though. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. So I encourage our audience here at PRNFM and in our podcast, Connect to Love, just do that. Try that. Make it, not try it, just do it. And do it with sincerity and mean it. Mean it, because it's the meaning that you attach to it that really makes it powerful. When it comes from the heart, when it comes from your heart, because they've done something for you, and not only are you getting paid to do it, but they got up in the morning and they came to actually perform that task for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I said it to the gal at the wine bar the other day, and she goes, "Oh, yes, no, of course, yeah." I said, "We don't want you to know we appreciate you.
That's awesome.
Appreciate what you do, and appreciate." I went to it's not called the DMV here, Department of Motor Vehicles. It's called the tax office here in Florida, and I recognized that I looked at my car and recognized that I had no current registration paperwork from 7 months ago, right? No, none. Okay, I know I paid for it. I remember paying for it, but I had no document in my car that, other than the sticker. No, I didn't have a sticker. I didn't have a sticker on a current year sticker on my car. I've been driving since May of last year. It said, wow, okay. I didn't have a sticker. Sticker said 2025 on it, which would have been the date that it would expire. It said 2024. So I was behind by a year. And I went to the DMV and it said, I didn't know about the sticker until I went in there, and she said, "Go look on the back of your license plate and see if you put the sticker on." And I went back there and I said, "Whoa, no sticker." And she says, "Well, I see here on the computer you've paid for it. Your registration is current, but you just don't have a sticker, and well, it's coming due anyway for another. Because you want to renew it for another year or two." And I said, "Yeah, let's just do it for 2 years." But here's the interesting about this. Interesting thing is that when I walked in the door, there's a process for, you put your phone number in, and then they call you, right? They use your phone number to say your turn now at window number 10 or 5 or 2 or whatever it may be. And we live in a small town. It's a beach town, and so she was the first person there. And before I had a chance to put in my information, she looks at me. She says, "What can I do for you, honey?" And I said,
that's nice.
"I got a registration issue." She says, "Come on over. Come around here." And she says, "What's the issue?" And I told her what it was, and she said, "Well, look on your car and see if you got it, and if not, we'll take care of it. You've paid." And she took care of me. I paid for another couple of years, and she gave me the new sticker, and I put 2027 on on the car, and the sticker when I got out of the place, and I put the other paperwork in the glove box. I'm all good. I'm all cool. But it was her. She made me feel amazing.
That's awesome.
Loved, cared for, taken care of, and I returned that love to her by saying, "Thank you, I appreciate you, you're really awesome." And, she gives me a wonderful smile, and I walk out, everybody's happy, And I know this is a woman who gets beat up on by people who, don't know, who have a victim consciousness. I'm a victim of not getting this or not getting that, or I want somebody to blame for something. And I'm sure she's somebody who would take it and just roll off the duck's back.
Well, that's awesome, though. But, Michael, because you come from a place of gratitude, I think it's sort of like the trump card. It overrides whatever else is in the hand that's dealt out on the deck. It's like, okay, you know what? You may have this challenge, but I'm going to just slap some gratitude on that, and, it's a full, I don't know, what do you call it, a full house or flush or whatever you want to call a royal flush. I'm not a card player, obviously.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna slap that right
but
on
I think
the
it is. It's like you consistently focus on the feel-good thoughts, and then you not only reprogram your subconscious mind to align with optimism, love, connection, but you're also opening new pathways for those other opportunities to unfold on your path. And you don't know exactly how it happens, and part of it is your natural state of allowing, that you have this trust in the flow of life, that no matter what happens, you're not trying to force that outcome, like, I need to be in this line with this particular person. No, I don't want to be in your line. You're just allowing it. So you're not blocking anything. It's like that natural flow. And I think that's what happens. A lot of people don't recognize, and that was what was so powerful about the conversation last week, that people unconsciously block their manifestation by resisting what is, or they overanalyze, or they were operating from a place of fear. Like, you didn't go in there and go, oh, well, I'm going to walk in and I haven't had this in my car and I'm going to get my car impounded. But you didn't. It's like you just release control and you step into trust, and then you allow whatever divine intelligence there is to orchestrate the rest of the events on your path.
And make it happen.
And I think that's fantastic. Yep.
And it does. I 110% I agree with you. It's such a different way to live, I mean, when you recognize the thing that we're talking about at the beginning of this conversation, which is that there is energy in everything that you impact, that you come in contact with throughout the day. It's collected energy. And I think there was not a Twilight Zone, but it was some of the show I was watching that had that. I think it was an old show called Warehouse 13, which was very similar to The Librarians. Are you familiar with these two shows?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay,
I'll have to look them up, though.
It's interesting. The Librarians is on, I don't know whether it's on one of the Paramount. It might be on Paramount, or it could be on Netflix or Hulu. But it's a great little show, which is about a library of these things that are imbued with an energy of some kind. And the unfortunate thing is, because, well, it's not so much unfortunate because it's not always negative energy, but most of the time it's some kind of energy that impacts the people that come into contact with it, right? When I say imbued with energy, it could be the comb of Marie Antoinette, right? And so it carries certain properties, energetic properties, that were imbued into it by Marie Antoinette. So anybody who has it has that energy, and it impacts them, and they don't even know that it's happening. So Warehouse 13 was I think they both are along similar paths. The warehouse is a warehouse that actually houses all of these objects, and they have people who go around the world when things happen, something goes awry somewhere, somebody does something really crazy or interesting that isn't normal for a human being. They know that there's an artifact, okay, of some kind from history that has been imbued with energy that person is now using for good or evil, okay? And it's really an interesting show. In terms of how they go about it, but it's what last week's conversation kind of reminded me of, that objects can be imbued with energy, and sometimes that energy is very heavy energy.
Oh, without a doubt.
We don't realize that it's heavy energy, and we don't know why we feel the way that we feel or whatever. But if we want to make sure that we're cognizant of making sure that we're avoiding putting very heavy negative energies on into our lives. Here's something that just came to mind in terms of how many people have a relative who passed away in a very I'm saying this quote unquote judgmentally, quote unquote bad way. Okay. I don't like to be judgmental. I don't think anybody's passing is necessarily in a bad way. I don't like to use those sort of judgments, but let's just say that happened, and then you get something that was very close to that person, right? And what does that item make you think of when you see that item? Do you think something positive? Do you think something happy, loving, or do you think something negative? And it would for me, I don't have those kinds of items around other than I have a picture of my father who spent 7 years in dementia before he passed, but that's not a negative thing. To me, it's just what it was. So I don't think of dementia when I look at the picture. I think of all the other awesome things in that we engaged in our lives. And the neat thing is that I have the ability to actually do that, but I don't have any instances or people where there was something very negative about their life or their passing, and I have it, and because it would be imbued with their energy, whatever that negative energy was. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who actually have items without even realizing that item may have impacted, and likely has, their subconscious. It's imprinted. That energy is imprinted.
You're absolutely right. One of my early teachers on my path was a gentleman who did a lot of remote viewing for the government when he was a child, and then did a lot of things later on. And he was actually featured on Unsolved Mysteries, that program.
I saw that show.
I know. He solved a very, very profound missing person. And but yeah, he was in. So when I met him, I went to him for a reading, and then he said, you have these different gifts, and he said, I want to teach you about psychometry, and that's exactly what it is, where you hold an object, and then you close your eyes, and you kind of go into your mind's eye. And the way he explained it is, you go up above the earth, and then you talk about the impressions of that particular object. And I, of course, being new on the path of what I was learning, you have all the apprehensions and all the negative self-talk, like, oh, I can't do this, I'll never be able to do this. And he said, he kind of walked me through the process, and the first thing he gave me was a stone. And when he handed me the stone, I held it in my hand, and I saw Stonehenge, and I saw all sorts of things. And I thought, you know what, you're a silly nut. Like, you're just making this stuff up. And sure enough, so he said, just tell me what you see. And I was so, hesitant and so embarrassed to tell him what I saw. And then I told him, he said, no, he said, that was great. He said, I actually picked up that stone when I was in Stonehenge. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And then the second thing he gave me was a necklace, and it was a pearl necklace. And sort of the same thing, I held it in my hand, and I started almost, it was getting difficult to breathe. And I thought, geez, I didn't even want to hold it in my hand. And I said that to him. I said, I don't know what this is. I said, I sort of feel a tightness in my chest, and I'm having difficulty, breathing. And I said, do you mind if I put this down? I don't want to hold it. And he said, good for you. He said, the woman who owned those pearls passed away of congestive heart failure, and she had a lot of difficulty breathing towards the end. And but it was really interesting for me, because I recognize that we all have that ability to tune into things. Not necessarily, does it have value in the fact that I'm trying to market it? No, not in that way. But it does allow me, I'm very sensitive to crystals and stones, and I will pick them up. And if I don't feel a good vibrational energy from it, I will put it away. And so I have a side crystal business, and every crystal that I choose I call it hand curated, because if I don't feel the vibration, if I'm not feeling something that I find wow, it just lights me up like a Christmas tree, it's not something that I purchase. It's not something that I would want somebody else to have. But I think that's sort of, we all tune into those things. And as you were talking about the programs, I mean, these programs are really programs on TV that we don't even recognize sometimes that there is something in there that really can illuminate us or take us the other way. So when you're speaking about the two programs, the warehouse and also the library. Is it the library or the librarian?
The librarians, yes.
I'll tell you, I mean, it's piqued my curiosity. I don't know if anybody else who's listening to this show right now, it's like, wow, I'm going to have to go check those out, because there's something, there's a message in there for me. So thank you very much, Michael.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It does help you understand. It's funny. I have a watercolor that was painted by a woman who's deceased now. It's a beautiful watercolor of a lily, it's purple flower. It's a lily that is an iris, purple iris, in a glass vase, decorative glass vase, sitting on a stand. And it's painted as a watercolor. She was a brilliant watercolorist. And every time my association with her, I bought this from her when she was at a winery in Napa. She was giving a showing, and I went to see her and bought this particular piece because I thought it was incredibly beautiful. And she, a couple of years later, when I spoke with her, she was highly negative and about me and other things going on in her life. And I was like, something happened to her.
Oh my!
And yeah, it was like, so every time I think of this, every time I look at this watercolor that's hanging on the wall, I recognize its beauty and the hand that actually created it. But then I get this thought about, well, what was that all about? And I'm thinking, yeah, and I have.
It's like your Crusher Corolla.
Yeah, it is. I've been tempted to get rid of it. However, it is so absolutely beautiful. You know, I think the beauty of it overpowers that any negatives that might have come with it. I mean, I look at this thing and I go, wow. I think I'm going to reframe it. Number one, I'm going to put it.
You know what's funny though? It reminds me of Wayne Dyer. Like when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So your perception, as you know, shapes your reality. So
exactly.
If there is something in that unconscious where maybe it was you saw that struggle in her. You and that sort of unknowingly manifested a belief, and so you were tuning into that. But now you've become aware of it. You become aware of that internal dialogue, and I believe you can intentionally shift it more towards love and optimism and curiosity. So maybe it's just something as simple as canceling the energy around it, and ask your guides to open up a new pathway of joy and
that's a great example for
and
audience.
align with that.
That's a great. Thank you so much. That's a great example for our audience about how to actually move through something like this. And I love it when we have teachable moments on this show, and I shall do just that. And I think that in my view, I've always wanted to reframe it. I'm going to put it in a different. I'm going to take it in and.
But isn't it interesting? You say reframe it. You're reframing it.
Right.
I mean, not just the frame. You're reframing the energy around it. I mean, it's so brilliant.
Exactly.
Love
that's
it.
a great word that has a multitude of different meanings. But yes, I'm going to reframe it. It's reframed in my mind, but it's going to further be amplified by the reframing of the picture itself.
And maybe you can share it with our audience. I'd love to see it after you reframe it.
Yeah,
physically reframe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can always feel you starting to energetically reframe it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Something. I have a lot of art that I've picked up. I have a lot of signed posters from the Catalina Island Jazz Festival. I have 2 or 3 of them that are signed by various jazz artists that back in the day were nobody, and today they're somebody. And so there's a whole experience. When I look at each poster, there's a really a plethora of positive experiences that go along with it, positive energies and memories that have been impressed upon me. It's just fantastic. It's wonderful to surround yourself, to curate either your residence or your house with things that are imbued with your positive experiences and people who have created them, who with love and kindness and gratitude and appreciation for their own talents. It is pretty darn amazing, and it's the other reason why I curate everything myself. Somebody says, here, this is for your office. Well, that's great, but if that person is a close friend, or that person has positive energies, and I accept gifts, I'm very good at receiving. And speaking about that, a lot of people I know are not really good at receiving. Isn't that interesting? They're not good at receiving. It's almost like, oh no, I don't deserve this. Yes, you do.
Right.
It's time for all of us to recognize that we deserve good things when they come to us, no matter what they are. Somebody gives you $100, say thank you, I appreciate that. Somebody gives you a free meal, thank you, I really so much appreciate that. I think somebody gave me something the other day. Oh no, don't worry about that. That's good. You've got. I think she actually said you've got great energy. Keep coming back. And you want
That's
to.
awesome.
Yeah, you want to be a beacon of positive energy to the places that you most often visit. Here's the interesting thing, and I know this. I hope this doesn't sound strange. However, it's not even if. When you have something and whoever has come in contact with that thing, from the person who made it to the person who packaged it for shipment, to the person who handled it on its way to you, including the mail or carrier or UPS or FedEx or whoever is the DHL, whoever brought it to you and handed it to you, then you have the capability of imbuing your positive energy, of associating your positive energy and loving energy and happiness and kindness energy with anything that passes through you. And in my view, it just occurred to me that it is our mission to make sure that we do that.
Mm-hmm.
You have a gift card you send to somebody. It's out of love. It's out of kindness. If it's a get well card, make sure that there's not sorrowful sympathy involved with it. Well, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Listen, you're getting through this. You're moving forward. This is a bump in the road for you. Just keep, see it that way. Keep moving. I'm sending you love. I'm sending you light. I'm sending you energy. That there's positive energy associated with everything that you're connecting with. If you pick a box up, and this is the interesting thing about it, because we have to take this to the nth degree, so to speak, as my mother used to say. It's infinite. If you pick up a box of cereal, if you buy cereal, if you pick up a box of cereal in the store and you decide it's not the one you want and you put it back, you got to make sure you don't associate negative energy with that. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Because that energy is going to then be imbued in that box. The person who picks it up and buys it will take that home, and that energy will basically attach to their subconscious. It will be absorbed in their subconscious. You could take this really out to the wildest extremes of the universe, and it's beautiful to think in that way, because it really makes you cognizant of and aware of how your energy impacts other people away from just personal contact. That's mind-blowing.
No, it is, and it is sort of like that, what we were speaking about it originally, about being an unconscious architect of your reality. And you think about an architect who works on a blueprint, and this goes here, and this goes here in this room, and no, I want to move that. Doesn't make sense to have a bathroom there, or it's not good flow, whatever it is. And if we think of life as a river, we're paddling upstream, and we've got doubt and resistance, and we're picking up that box of cereal, and we're going, oh, this is loaded with sugar, and this has got this and this and this, and then you put it back. I mean, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it is for somebody else. But it can be a little bit exhausting. But I think when you relax into that current and you go, okay, and Abraham used to speak about this, about paddling upstream, and if we relax into the current and believe that we're always being guided, we flow. It's like the boat will turn, and the next thing you know, you're flowing into synchronicities and opportunities and manifestations, and it's all effortlessly aligned.
Correct.
For our highest good.
Love it.
It's
true, for your highest good and the good of others around you. Here's the interesting thing. I know I wanted to bring this up on this particular show because I don't think it can take up an entire show, but it fits, I believe, into this whole thing, and that is that when it comes to our sharing our energy or imbuing energy and what we touch and who we come, what passes through our hands and in our lives in a day, Abraham said something very, very interesting. It's the second time I've heard it. And it's that it takes 17 seconds. If you think a thought for 17 seconds, then that thought you can actually propagate another thought of the same kind. It makes it easier, makes it simpler for another. If you're thinking a positive thought for 17 seconds, then another positive thought can ride hang on to the coattails of that thought and create another one and another one and another one. So you get this domino theory going. But it takes 17 seconds for that thought. And I started thinking to myself, because I do this myself. I've started doing this myself in the morning, first thing when my eyes open, and I become aware of my surroundings and what where I'm at and time, all that sort of thing. I think to myself, I think a positive thought, and for me, it's in terms of an affirmation, that sort of thing. Get myself focused on happy and loving and abundance and wealth and kindness and gratitude and all that kind of stuff. I love this. I love that. I start to say I love all the things that I love about the day that I know are going to happen because I love them. Okay, so I'm bringing the future into the present moment as it's already happened. I love this. I love when that happens. I love making breakfast. I love making breakfast for my lady. I love doing this. I love doing that. And I do that for about 30 to 40 seconds a minute. And
that's awesome.
The interesting thing about this, because I did this initially as an experiment, the interesting thing about it is that it overpowers everything else. It really sets a tone for the day because you've already stated what the day is. You've already stated, I love going to work. I love driving in the freeway, listening to my favorite book. I love having lunch, by that beautiful creek or that fountain or whatever it is. I love conversing with so-and-so at work. I love it when we have these conversations, great conversations, deep conversations about ourselves and where we're going and what our dreams and goals are. These kinds of things. I love this, I love that, I like this, I like that. I put it that way because it makes it easy. However, it really, really sets this amazing tone for creating the day, the reality that I'm looking to experience in the day. Let's just put it that way. And so I would encourage our listeners to do that. Instead of picking up your phones and looking at the news or looking at texts from the previous night or who texted me and who said what, who did this, or going on to social media or turning on the news first thing in the morning before you have a chance to solidify and set your own state of being. Make sure you do this first.
I love it. It's a fantastic. Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic practice, Michael. I love it. And
it works.
And you did send me the one Abraham, and that's what Abraham said, 17 seconds. And if you can do it and do it again for another 17 seconds until you have 68 seconds, it can really shift things.
Yeah.
And I do believe that practice, it really can quiet that conscious mind and reprogram that subconscious. So you are visualizing your reality as if it's already happening because you're already imbuing everything you do with love. And even affirmations. So I am worthy of love. And then you go into all of the things and you just, as Abraham used to always say, rampages of appreciation.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I'm worthy of love.
I love the love that I receive. I like the love that I receive from everybody I come in contact with. And I love I receive throughout the day. It is this concept of loneliness, which now they're starting to study and they're taking polls on and all this sort of thing right now and finding out that a lot of people are lonely in the world. It's not, I'm not going to say it doesn't make sense to me, but it is something that I know can be overcome with much of what we talk about here on the show, including what we talked about today. The understanding that you're not alone, that you are guided, that you're never alone. You're never ever alone. This idea that there's that there's just you and four walls and whatever you have in it in your home. I find that can be perceptually the most amazing, peaceful, loving, and happy and kind place in the world, if that's what you intend to create it as. And we all create a reality, and we create that reality for ourselves too. And I would think back to Nelson Mandela, who said, he had a 6 by 6 cell, 6 by 6 or 7 by 7 cell that he was in for 27 years, and he only got outside maybe once a day, and sometimes not as often as that. But he made it his nirvana. mentally. He saw it as his nirvana. He saw it as the most amazing place in the world. And that mindset is what carried, and a few other things too, carried him through. The average person would immediately say, "This is the worst thing ever. How am I going to survive here? What in the world can I do in here?" And think of every possible negative projection about being in that space. And that's the reality they can create for themselves, is a place they can't stand, that is going to suffocate them, that is going to limit their growth, stunt their growth mentally. And so we do establish our own perceptions about everything. And I hope that the topics that we've talked about today on the show, the perceptions that people are establishing about, creating a 17 to 68 second positive stream of thought in the morning, just doing it and setting the perception that it is helping you to create the kind of day that you that you really desire. That you really desire. It's not outside. It's not somewhere else. It's right here. It's right now. If I've learned anything in the last year, or at least come to believe something even more than I ever did before in my life, it's that what we project is exactly what we get. What we think about and project is exactly it. Emotionally, thought-wise, that we have the power to create the most amazing day for ourselves each and every day by making sure that we are staying on top of, being mindful of, aware of the thoughts that we are having about ourselves and our life, what we're projecting in terms of perceptions, and the feelings that we're having. And I diligently make sure that I am in a positive space thought-wise throughout the day. Because when I do that, that positivity comes right back to me. I'm just like the mirror for me. My reality is a mirror of what I'm thinking. That's for all of us. And, to some people it's a conundrum. It's like, how do you do this? What do you do that? Forget about the hows. Forget about the whys. Forget about the explanations. Just do it. Just do it. See what happens.
And I think, Michael, it's the repetition. The more that you repeat that, and as you do that, it solidifies those beliefs. So if you are feeding your subconscious mind with uplifting thoughts, you are going to rewire that internal blueprint, and you are going to become that architect for success and love and joy. And because our unconscious mind is always creating, whether we are conscious of it or not, we are, we can choose love over fear and trust over doubt and presence over worry and reclaim our sovereignty and become that creator of our reality. And the more that we allow, the more life flows to us in miraculous ways. And so love on it and love on it and love on it some more. And, I really appreciate you bringing so many wonderful things to light, because it always sparks and fills my heart with so much joy. So thank you.
Yeah, mine too. It's interesting. One of the things that I've always wanted to say is that people, our audience may not know this, and you made it abundantly clear a couple weeks ago, if not last week. You and I have never met in person. We've never met in person. We've never been in the same place, in the same room, or in the same city, for that matter. Which somebody I told the other day said, "What? Are you kidding?" And I said, it's interesting. We're kindred spirits.
We truly are.
We met through another kindred spirit. And when you asked me to be on the show with you, to co-host the show with you, I thought it would be, the most amazing experience, and it has turned out to be exactly that. And
Likewise.
the reason is because there's so much. I'm learning from you, you're learning from me. And what I want to encourage our audience to do is to understand that as you shift and change, transform your own subconscious mind and therefore your outer experience, that things are going to change for you. The people who come into your life are going to be a representation of the perceptions and the new thought patterns that you have, the new energy that you're not only resonating but spreading out to the world. That loving kindness, abundance, and success energy that you're creating from within, that you're tapping into. It's already there. That you're tapping into is resonating out to the world instead of the fight, the struggle, and survival energy that you perhaps up to now have been putting out, because a lot of people are in that state of being and don't understand how to get out of it. That state of being has to flip to the other side of love and kindness and abundance. You already have everything you need when you need it, and that love is within you. It's everywhere. It is the fabric. It is the thread that ties the fabric of the universe together. That's what love is. And when you begin to resonate, to tap into your own love and begin to resonate that love to other people, that your life will change. The people who come into your life will change. They won't be the same people. If they're not on the same frequency as you, they won't be the same people. And where I'm going with this is that we want to be alert to people who we can create a bond with and a relationship like Lisa and I have, where we can connect and talk and support each other and share the love of living and the information that we learn that can help us continually transform and evolve as human souls. There's beauty in that. And in my view, when you say I'm lonely, you are going to be lonely because that is exactly the life that you're creating, the reality you're creating for yourself. And that's all you're going to see is the validation of that loneliness, the validation of it. And it pains me to see this on the news where a large percentage of generation whatever, XYZ, is lonely. And I'm going, yeah, if you start thinking that way, if you start putting yourself in that cubbyhole, if you start saying, I am lonely, I am unloved, I am unsupported, right? If that's where you go with it, that's all you're going to create. And there is so much more, infinitely more, that you can create. And it has to begin with you. It can't begin with somebody outside of you. Nobody outside of you is going to fill that hole, fill that void. Because you can only attract to you what you resonate. And so you're going to attract people who are going to validate your loneliness, validate your fight, struggle, survival mode that you're in. And you'll all sit around and have one big pity party. Instead, you can have a joy party. You can have a love party, loving life, loving yourself. A passion party where there's the passion for talk about the things that you're impassioned about and by. And that positive energy is what helps bring more positive energy to you and move you beyond where you are. And that's what I have embraced more than anything else in this past year, with all the things that you and I have delved into, from Bashar to Abraham to Carol Collins and the teachers. All of this is a very, very central message, that we don't have to be the way we are, that we have the ability and the power to change our outer reality, our outer world, the people in it, where we are, the situations we encounter. It starts within. It starts within us. And that's the beauty of it. We have so much power. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And it's that connection. And that's why Michael and I are so grateful to each and every one of our audience members who join us each week. You're part of our community, and we are so excited that you share our experiences, and hope that you take what you glean from our conversations and connect with your own community of like-minded individuals. And that's how really you start the journey of self-discovery and conscious creation. And as Michael said, invite more love, more joy, more connection, then everything shifts. And it's absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Michael.
It's always wonderful. It's always a treasure.
Such a blessing. And until next time, peace out. I was thinking about that the other day. Peace out. I know, it's part of my unconscious. It is peace out. Love it. Enjoy. Much love.